Okay, so first thing is the biggest fitna, which is a testing period in history, is associated with Dajjal. It's reported in Sahih Muslim 809a that whoever knows the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf will be protected from Dajjal. And if you don't know, Surah Al-Kahf is 18th surah and the first 10 verses are as follows. All praise is due to Allah who has sent down upon his servant the book and has not made therein any deviance. He has made it straight to warn of severe punishment from him and to give good tidings to the believers who do righteous deeds that they will have a good reward, in which they will remain forever, and to warn those who say Allah has taken a son. They have no knowledge of it, no had their fathers. Grave is the word that comes out of their mouths. They speak not except a lie. Then perhaps you would kill yourself through grief over them, O Muhammad, if they do not believe in this message and out of sorrow. Indeed, we have made that which is on earth adornment for it, that we may test them as to which of them is best indeed. And indeed, we will make that which is upon it into a barren ground. Or have you thought that the companions of the cave and the inscription were among our signs a wonder? Mention when the youths retreated to the cave and said, Our Lord grant us from yourself mercy and prepare us from our affair right guidance. Dajjal will also be blind with one eye, and the Prophet Muhammad referred to Dajjal as Al-Awar, which means blind with one eye. The Prophet Muhammad also said that Dajjal's right eye would look like a floating grape and his left eye will be defective in some way also. When it comes to the Dajjal's hair, it's cited in the Sahih al-Bukhari 3439 as well as in Ibn Majah 4071, which are collections of Islamic traditions. It said that the Prophet Muhammad narrated a fact about Dajjal's appearance, that he will have very curly hair as well as he'll have lots of hair. I think of Medusa when I hear lots of hair and like crazy looking eyes. The Prophet Muhammad also said that the word kafir would be written on his eyebrows and forehead, and a believer of Allah can spot this easily. This is cited in Sahih Muslim 2933b. And in Sahih Muslim 2934b, it is stated that even an uneducated person would be able to see this and read it. Dajjal also won't be able to enter the cities of Medina and Mecca. It's mentioned in Sahih Muslim 2943 that Dajjal, just can't enter into these cities, as well as other hadiths have stated this fact. In Sahih al-Bukhari 7134, it says that the Prophet said he will come to Medina and find the angels guarding it. So Allah willing, neither Dajjal nor plague will be able to come near it. Sahih al-Bukhari 7125 mentions that Medina will have 7 gates at that time and 2 angels will be guarding every single gate. So if Dajjal even thinks about coming, the angels just knock him out. Okay guys, so one of the scariest things about Dajjal is that he will have the power to bring the dead people back to life. So according to Sahih al-Bukhari 1882, Dajjal will have so much power that he'll be able to end somebody's life and then make that same person come back to life. Just imagine seeing that. That would be so trippy. I'm calm. Okay. Anyways, it's also stated in Sahih Muslim 2440 that the Prophet Muhammad said Dajjal also will be followed by 70,000 Jews. So he's gonna have a Jewish army. Apparently those people are gonna be completely deceived. There's also mention of water and fire associated with Dajjal. In Sahih al-Bukhari 7130, it says that Dajjal will come with fire and water. Now what would seem to be water will actually be fire, and what looks like fire is actually going to be water. Is that symbolic of something? The next thing is that the Prophet Muhammad said that there will be a small number of Arabs in those days because they're going to run away from Dajjal and seek protection. And that's found in Sahih Muslim 2945a. And the final thing I want to share in relation to Dajjal is that Isa is the one that's going to kill Dajjal after he's sent by Allah back to the earth. So the Prophet Isa, which is the Arabic name for Jesus, is going to kill Dajjal at Bab el-Lud in Israel, and this is found in Jami Tirmidhi 2244. So according to Muslim scholars, there are 3 aspects of the Dajjal. There's Dajjal, the individual, then there's Dajjal as a worldwide social and cultural phenomenon, then there's Dajjal as an unseen force. Now, according to the opinions of scholars, the second and third aspects of Dajjal will be established before Dajjal, the individual, actually appears on this earth. So he'll be here when the support system that he really needs is all in place throughout the world. Dajjal will also be a man of Jewish descent. Now, he's not a jinn or some other type of creature or anything like that. Ubadah, the son of Samit, who is a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, once said this: "I have explained Dajjal to you, but I fear that you might not have understood. Masih Dajjal will be short and his legs will be crooked. He'll also come in the time of Mahdi, after Mahdi succeeds in overcoming the forces of the other nations and sets up his kingdom to rule. This will be a time when justice will be spread throughout the earth." So when you see that, that's an indication that Dajjal is coming soon. Also in the Sahih Muslim hadith, Antichrist, known as Dajjal in Islam, was already a form for some time. He was chained up on an island and awaited by an animal whose name is Al-Jassasa, aka the beast of the earth. The Dajjal or Antichrist was already there, and he waited days to be allowed by God to get out and explore the rest of the earth. Also, Jabir ibn Abdullah, who's also a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, had said this: "The Dajjal will appear at the end of time, when religion is taken lightly. He'll have 40 spiritual days, about 1.25 years in actuality," and this is according to many scholars. Now, continuing the quote, "In which to travel throughout the earth. One of these days will be like a year, another will be like a month, a third will be like a week, and the rest will be like normal days. He will be riding a donkey," which scholars interpret as some sort of jet, because it's said that the width between its ears will be 40 cubits, so this is understood to be a representation of wings. Dajjal is also described in the hadith as having many eyes on both sides, as well as traveling around the world very quickly. Among other descriptions of the Dajjal, you'll find that the Dajjal can be heard all around the world at the exact same time. Dajjal will also talk about the fire, Jahannam, which is equivalent to hell, and make it seem like the garden, Jannah, which is equivalent to heaven. He'll be proclaiming justice, but he will do a lot of injustice, and he'll proclaim peace, but he's going to be doing the opposite of peace. So basically, he's going to be doing exactly the opposite of what he says, hence the term Dajjal, which also can translate to the deceiver. So his name apparently is Abdullah, son of Siyatid or Siyadid. The exact pronunciation is still up for debate though, and his title that's going to be given is Al-Masih al-Dajjal, meaning the false Messiah. However, he's going to also claim to be divine, so he in a sense is going to be a false deity as well. Another thing to note is that the hadith of Hadrat Asma, who is a daughter of Yazid, narrates the following: "The Messenger of Allah once came to my house, and there he spoke about Dajjal. He said that before the emergence of Dajjal, there will be 3 spells of drought. In 1 year, the skies will withhold 1/3 of its rain, causing the earth to withhold 1/3 of its produce. In the 2nd year, the skies will withhold 2/3 of its rains, causing the earth to withhold 2/3 of its produce. In the 3rd year, the skies will withhold all its water, and there will be no crops that year. All animals, be they hooved or toothed, will pass away as a result." And the final thing to share about Dajjal is that it's also mentioned that the greatest evil of Dajjal will be to approach people and then he asks them this question: "If I bring your camel back to life, will you then believe that I am your Rabb?" And by the way, Rabb is an Arabic word for Lord. And this person will reply, "Most certainly." After that, Shaitan, which are comparable to evil spirits in English, will appear before this person in the form of his camel, so the person is going to think that the camel came back to life. Likewise, Dajjal will appear before another person whose father and brother have long passed away and ask, "If I bring your father and your brother back to life, will you believe that I am your Rabb?" Then the person will reply, "Why not?" So then Shaitan will once again take the form and the appearance of that brother and the father.
Dajjal makes his entry. There are a couple of signs of the appearance of Dajjal. In one of the hadiths that was narrated by Ibn Majah, it talks about how the Holy Prophet said that before the arrival of Dajjal, there will be 3 years of famine. In the first year, Allah will command the skies to withhold a third of its rain and the earth to withhold a third of its produce. In the second year, Allah will command the skies to withhold 2/3 of its rain and the earth to withhold 2/3 of its produce. In the third year, Allah will command the sky to withhold all of its rain and it will not rain a single drop of rain. He will command the earth to withhold all of its produce. During this time, no plants will grow. It's kind of hard to imagine how to live in this situation. Moving on to number 9. A very interesting description that the Holy Prophet gave about Dajjal is that there would be the word kafir written in the center of the forehead near the eyes. If you guys don't know, basically what a kafir means, it means non-believer. Anyone who's a believer of Allah will be able to clearly see the words and recognize that it's Dajjal. In the Sahih Muslim book, there is another hadith that mentions how even the illiterate people will be able to read the word kafir on his forehead. Moving on to number 8, a lot of people were really curious about the appearance of Dajjal. So especially during the time of the Holy Prophet, a lot of people wanted more descriptive appearance and the Holy Prophet gave a very detailed description. He said that Dajjal would be blind in one eye and called him Al-Anwar, which means one with blind one eye. In detail, he said that Dajjal's right eye will be like a floating grape. It'll be shaking so it wouldn't be like in a fixed position. In a couple of hadiths, the Holy Prophet gave a small description of Dajjal's hair. In Sahih Bukhari as well as Sunnah Ibn Majah, which are the books containing Islamic tradition and hadiths, it says that the Holy Prophet described Dajjal's hair to be long and curly, so thick that it'll pretty much look like snakes hanging from his head. Isn't that interesting? So one of the scariest things, but yet one of the most interesting things about Dajjal is the fact that he has the power to bring anyone back from the dead. One of the hadiths that was narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri in Sahih Bukhari 1882, it mentions how a man will walk up to him and Dajjal will ask the people that, "If I kill this man and bring him back to life, will you doubt my claims?" And so it says that he will be killing the man and bringing him back to life and trying to get more people to believe that he's the Messiah. Moving on to number 5. No matter how powerful he seems, he won't be able to enter the city of Mecca and Medina despite of how much he tries. This is mentioned in a couple of hadiths. So in the Sahih Bukhari 7134, it says that the Holy Prophet said, "Dajjal will come to Medina and find the angels guarding it. So Allah is willing, neither Ad-Dajjal nor plague will be able to come near it." There was another hadith that I found in Sahih al-Bukhari 7125 that mentions how there will be 2 angels guarding each of the 7 gates of Medina. So moving on to number 4, it was reported that Dajjal will have something to do with water and fire. In the Sahih al-Bukhari 7130, it mentions that whatever seems like water will actually seem like fire, and in the same way, whatever seems like fire will seem like cold water. So moving on to number 3. So Dajjal is basically the biggest fitna in history. In short, basically what fitna means is it's an Arabic word for a testing period. It mentions in Sahih Muslim 809a that if anyone learns by heart the 10 verses of the Surah Al-Kahf, then they will be protected from Dajjal. If you guys don't know, Surah Al-Kahf is the 18th surah in the Quran. Another interesting thing that was mentioned in Sahih Al-Bukhari 3337 is that all the prophets warn the people about Dajjal and its fitna. Because he's the biggest fitna, a lot of people actually pray that, they never encounter this guy. Moving on to number 2, it is also stated in the Sahih Muslim 2944 that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that Dajjal will be followed by 70,000 Jews. The Arabic word that was translated to mean 70,000 was often also used a word to describe a large number of people or things. So this hadith could mean that there will be exactly 70,000 followers, or it's referring to a large number of people or groups. So moving on to the final fact of this episode is that Prophet Isa will be the one to take down the big bad Dajjal. So Prophet Isa, who's also known as Jesus in Christianity, will be the one to kill Dajjal at Bab-e-Lud, which is in Israel. And this was mentioned in Jami al-Tirmidhi 2244.
10. There's going to be a period of 3 years of drought and famine. The hadith of Hadrat Asma, who is the daughter of Yazid, he narrates the following. The Messenger of Allah once came to my house and there he spoke about Dajjal. He said that before the emergence of Dajjal, there will be 3 spells of drought. In 1 year, the skies will withhold 1/3 of its rains, causing the earth to withhold 1/3 of its produce. In the 2nd year, the skies will withhold 2/3 of its rain, causing the earth to withhold 2/3 of its produce. In the 3rd year, the skies will withhold all its rain, and there will be no crops that year. All animals, be they hooved or toothed, will pass away as a result. No animals, nothing. What? That is pretty scary. Now, at number 9, we have Dajjal will do the opposite. So let me break it down for you. Dajjal will talk about the fire, or Jahannam, known as hell, and make it seem like it is the garden, or Jannah, which is known as heaven. And he's going to proclaim justice, but he's going to pursue injustice. He's also going to proclaim peace, but he's going to pursue the complete opposite of peace. Pretty much everything that he proclaims, he is going to do the opposite. But it's said that a lot of people are going to be deceived by these blatant lies. Now let's talk a little bit about the appearance of the Dajjal, like what's Dajjal going to look like. It's believed that Dajjal is going to be blind in one eye. People have always been curious about the appearance of Dajjal, even during the time of the Prophet Muhammad. A lot of people wanted, just some more descriptions of what he's gonna look like, what's his appearance gonna be like. So the Prophet Muhammad, he gave some detailed descriptions. And in one of the hadith, it records that the Prophet Muhammad said that Dajjal would be blind in one eye, and he called him Al-Anwar, which means one with a blind eye. He also said that Dajjal's right eye would look like a floating grape. So it's going to be shaking, it's not too firm, it's not going to be in a fixed position or anything. Number 7 brings us another physical description of Dajjal, and that's about Dajjal's hair. It's cited in Sahih al-Bukhari, number 3439, page 344, as well as in Majah 4071, which are both collections of Islamic traditions known as hadith. And according to those, the Prophet Muhammad said that Dajjal's appearance when it comes to his hair is going to be very curly, as well as he's going to have a whole lot of hair. It's even reported that it'll be so thick that it almost looks like there's snakes coming out of his head. It kind of reminds me of Medusa from Greek mythology. I'm not gonna lie, when I was researching this fact, but she had like literal snakes in her hair though, and anybody that looked at them would turn to stone. I don't think Dajjal has that ability though, according to Islam. Either way though, it sounds like the sky is gonna look pretty scary. Next up, let's talk about fire and water. It's believed that Dajjal will have something to do with fire and water. It's a little bit ambiguous, not 100% clear, but according to Sahih al-Bukhari number 7130, it's mentioned that whatever seems like water will actually be fire, and in the same way, whatever seems like fire will be water. The scary belief at number 5 is Dajjal bringing animals back to life. It's also mentioned that when people asked about Dajjal, this is what was said to them. Dajjal's gonna say this: if I bring your camel back to life, will you then believe that I'm your Lord? Then the person will say, yes, of course, but the shaitan, also known as jinn, will appear before the person in the form of his camel, for example. So it's gonna look like the animal was brought back to life, and they already admitted that, hey, if this person does this, they're gonna say that, oh my God, you are my Lord. And that's how Dajjal is going to gain a lot of followers. Number 4 though, this is also very similar, bringing people back from the dead. And this is one of the scariest things about Dajjal, is that he's going to apparently have the power to bring people back to life. According to the hadith Sahih al-Bukhari number 1882, Dajjal will have enough power to end someone's life and then also make that person come back to life. But not exactly though. More accurately, Muslims believe that Dajjal will apparently end somebody's life and then also apparently bring them back to life. What actually is going to happen is that there will be evil jinn that work under the power of Dajjal that take the form of people who have passed away, and then they're going to come back to life, and a lot of people are going to be deceived because of this. There's also the belief of the multiple aspects of Dajjal, and this is according to many Muslim scholars. There's actually not one aspect aspect of Dajjal, not even two, but there's a total of three different aspects of Dajjal. The first aspect is the individual Dajjal, which we've been talking about in this episode. Then there's also going to be Dajjal as a worldwide social and cultural aspect. Then the third part is going to be Dajjal as an unseen force. Now, according to scholars, the second and third aspect of Dajjal will be established before the Dajjal individual is going to come on the scene. So it's believed that Dajjal is going to come on the scene when the system that is going to support him is in place all around the world. According to the Hadith Sahih Muslim 809a, that whoever knows the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf will be protected from Dajjal. The belief at number two is that there's going to be the greatest testing period in all of humanity. This is known as the biggest fitna in all of history, is linked to the appearance of Dajjal. So this is going to be a time where people are going to go through a lot of testing their faith. They're going to experience a lot of pain, a lot of sadness, a lot of temptation that are going to shake the very core of their being. But like I mentioned in number three, those who know Surah Al-Kahf, which is the 18th surah of the Quran, they got nothing to worry about. And the final belief about Dajjal that is pretty scary is Jabir ibn Abdullah, who was a companion of the Prophet Muhammad. He said these words. The Prophet Muhammad said, "The Dajjal will appear at the end of time when religion is taken lightly. He will have 40 spiritual days," which according to scholars is 1.25 years in actuality, "in which to travel throughout the earth. One of these days will be like a year, another will be like a month, and a third will be like a week, and the rest will be like normal days. He will be riding a donkey," which scholars interpret to be some sort of jet or another mode of transportation, because it's said that the width between the ears will be 40 cubits. So this is understood to be the distance measured between the wings. Also, Dajjal is described in the Hadith as having many eyes on both sides and being able to travel the world very, very, very quickly. This is why it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to actually be on a literal donkey. Donkey just probably refers to a mode of transportation, because you can't travel that fast on a donkey. And finally, Dajjal can be heard all around the world at the very same time. Starting at number 10, we have the jinns. According to Islamic theology, jinn are invisible entities who roamed the earth before Adam, the first human being, was created. Now, they were created by God out of a mixture of fire or smokeless fire. There are many types of jinn, including those that can shapeshift, those that can fly, as well as ones that can resemble animals. And now it's been said that the jinn can see us, but we can't see them. And sometimes your pets can see them, so they start acting really strange, and they'd be staring at something, and you're like, what are you looking at? Having no idea that they can see a jinn. Now, what makes this even scarier is that sometimes jinn, depending on how they feel that day, can call out to you, and they can sound like one of your relatives or close friends. Then there's the recording angels. Karaman Ketibin, or the recording angels, are also another pretty scary thing in Islamic belief. Not that the beings themselves are scary, but what they do can sometimes leave a person terrified depending on what they actually do. So let me explain. So there's two types of recording angels, and they record everything that a person does. Like, I mean everything, and not just like an overview summary of what they did or said, but really a detailed, in-depth report. It's the ultimate biography. So if you think about it, you just look back into your life at all the bad stuff that you've done, whatever it may be, that Karaman Ketibin angels, yeah, they recorded it even though you thought no one saw you or thought no one heard you. And that's what makes this earn a spot on this list. Number 8, we have Dajjal. Now, Dajjal is known as the false messiah, so similar to Christian theology, and also known as like a liar or a deceiver. And in the Muslim world, believers say that he will create a lot of destruction by lies and having supernatural powers. Other religions know this as the Antichrist, who will deceive the entire world. Now, not just the fact that Dajjal is believed to be a master deceiver is what makes him creepy, but even the description of him and his appearance can give you nightmares. Like the Dajjal will be blind in one eye. In Islamic tradition, the Prophet Muhammad referred to Dajjal as Al-Awar, which means blind with one eye. Now the Prophet Muhammad said that Dajjal's right eye would look like a floating grape and its left eye will be defective in some way. Now certain Islamic traditions, however, depict Dajjal having one eye, and the biggest fitna, or the testing period in the history of humanity, is associated with Dajjal. Yeah, that's pretty creepy. Next up, we have the Munkar and Nakir. Munkar and Nakir in Islamic belief are two angels who test the faith of people who pass away in their graves. According to Al-As-Sunnah, Munkar and Nakir ask a person who dies who is their Lord and what religion they follow and who is the Prophet. And a believer would answer these questions, but an unbeliever cannot answer them. Now those who are deemed righteous will say, of course, Allah or God, and mention the Prophet Muhammad is a messenger, and they'll be allowed to rest in peace until the final day of judgment. But those who don't answer or answer differently or who don't truly believe will continue being punished like while they're passed away, waiting for the final judgment. Now it's like that pre-punishment phase, you know, like when you do something really bad and your parents say to you, you know, wait till I get home to deal with you. And you know, that time that you're waiting for your mom or dad to get home to deliver whatever punishment they're going to be delivering, you know, sometimes that period is more punishment than the actual punishment. Now it may not be that way in this scenario, but the idea that loved ones may not be actually resting in peace can be a pretty scary thought. Next up at number 6, we have the smoke. Okay, so among the major signs mentioned by the Prophet Muhammad is the smoke. And Muslims believe that God refers to this event in the Quran saying this: "Then wait you for the day when the sky will bring forth a visible smoke covering the people. This will be a painful torment." And that's in the Quran, Surah 44, verses 10 to 11. There's also a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad said, "Verily your Lord has warned you concerning 3 matters. The smoke that overtakes the believer like a cold and overtakes the disbeliever and makes him swollen until it comes out of his ears." So just imagine for a moment, it's all pitch black, you can't see anything, and you're coughing, you're not able to breathe properly, and your body starts swelling up, and you're in so much pain, and you can't make it stop. Very creepy. Halfway to number 5, we have earthquakes. So we all know the effects that an earthquake can have, and what makes them so destructive is that no matter what structure you've built on land, it's no match for an earthquake. It definitely will collapse. Not to mention that earthquakes in large bodies of water are known to cause tsunamis. Now in the Hadith Bukhari volume 9 book 88, it says, "The hour will not be established till earthquakes will increase in number." So when you take a look at the stats, between the 11th century to the 18th century, there have been 64 earthquakes, right? And in the 19th century, there have been 47 earthquakes, and in the 20th century, there have been approximately 319 earthquakes, and then in the 21st century, there has been approximately 380 earthquakes. So earthquakes definitely vary in magnitude, and not all of them are deadly. However, Muslims believe that we are living in the end time signs right now, since the increase of earthquakes is believed to be a major sign of the end in Islam. Yet no one is certain how much more the frequency of earthquakes will increase, or even how much their severity will increase. Okay, moving on down to number 4, we have the angels of death. So let's get into this one. Naziat and Nashitat are 2 classes of death angels that are subordinate to Azrael, who is the archangel of death. Now these angels are responsible for taking the souls of those who pass away. Naziats are ordered to take the lives of unbelievers by force, and the Nashitats take their life away gently. So the question always is are you going to go swift and painless, or is it going to be slow and painful? That's a creepy thought. Number 3 brings us to Iblis. Now Iblis in Islam is the name of the devil, which is a counterpart to the Jewish and Christian Satan. Now he's a demonic creature, and he runs wild on humanity to spread evil and misery, and in some cases the name Shaitan is used to refer to Iblis specifically. Now at the time of creation, God ordered the angels to bow down in obedience before Adam, and Iblis refused, saying that he was better because he was created from fire and Adam was created out of clay. So because he acted so prideful and disobeyed God's commandments, God threw Iblis out of heaven, and his punishment was postponed until the day of judgment. And Iblis, who became the ruler of the jinn and also became a jinn himself, he tempts people to do evil. And according to some Islamic beliefs, apparently only animals like donkeys can see Iblis, and Iblis sometimes appear as a human form to carry out certain tasks like recruiting other followers. So yeah, you may run into someone on the street and could be the devil. Number 2 is jinn possession. So I spoke about jinn before, right, in this episode. Now, it's one thing to see a jinn and to hear one, but it's another thing to be under the control of one. Now, not all jinn are evil according to popular Islamic belief. However, the scariest thing about the jinn who are evil is that they can actually possess human beings. Oftentimes, people who are possessed by jinns may not necessarily be in a whole lot of pain or look like how people look in the movies. However, individuals may get super angry or feel like they're forced to act in a certain way without being able to stop themselves. So exorcisms gotta happen. You gotta go through that whole process, and some possessions definitely are very violent, where people's eye colors change and other physical changes happen in their body. Definitely creepy. And the final scariest thing in the religion of Islam is hell, or Jahannam, is the ultimate punishment for non-believers. After the disbeliever is no longer under the punishment of Munkar and Nakir, their punishment will then continue in hell. But this time, they'll be alive and fully able to experience their punishment. Hell is described as being extremely boiling hot, and the suffering will continue for disbelievers as long as God sees fit. And it's said that despite the intense physical pain experienced in hell, the worst of all the torments is people's separation from God. At number 10, there's a teaching that hell exists now. So hell exists at the present time and will continue to exist forever. It will never die down, and the people that inhabit hell will remain in it forever. Now, no one will come out of hell except sinful believers who believed in the oneness of God in this life and also believed in the specific prophet sent to them. Another teaching about hell is the Sufi interpretation. Sufis, they developed a sort of metaphysical interpretation of Jahannam, or hell, in Islam. Hell is still a place where sinners in this world are going to be sent to be punished, but Sufis have given some other characteristics to the notion of hell. According to Ibn Arabi, the terms hell and heaven refer in fact to distance from and proximity to God respectively. So if you're closer to God, that's heaven, and the further away from God, that's hell. The teaching at number 8 is of the Ahmadi interpretation. According to Ahmadi Islam, the places that people go to in the afterlife are images of human beings' own spiritual life during their lifetime. And the fire in hell is a manifestation of sins. The main purpose of hell is therefore regarded to purge people from all of their evil deeds. The teaching at number 7 is the 7 stages. So Jahannam, or hell, is traditionally believed to be divided in 7 stages, and those are as follows. The stage where the fire is for sinners among the Muslims. There's also a place for the sinners among Christians, and then also another destination for the sinners that live among the Jewish people. There's a stage where the burning fire is for renegades, and also a place for witches and fortune tellers is another stage. There's another fire for disbelievers, and also there's a bottomless pit for hypocrites like Pharaoh, who is talked about in the Quran as well as in the Bible, and also for people who disbelieved in Isa, or Jesus's miracle of the table filled with food that came down from heaven, or for Muslims who are outwardly believers but inwardly they're unbelievers. There's another teaching about hell being alive. So there's some scholars like Al-Ghazali and the 13th century Muslim scholar Al-Qurtubi who describe hell as this massive conscious being rather than a place to go. And they base it on the verses in the Quran, like Surah 67 verses 7 that says, when they are thrown into it, they hear from it a dreadful inhaling while it boils up. And also in the Quran, Surah 50 verses 30, there's a passage that says this, on the day we will say to hell, have you been filled? And it will say, are there some more? So based on passages like that, there are many scholars who believe that hell also has some sort of consciousness. There's so many different beliefs and information about hell according to the religion of Islam. We did another video that's dedicated to all sorts of information, and that link, I'll have it below in the video description section. I definitely want you to check out that one. We've also done similar videos about various different topics like this, so definitely check out the video description section. I'll have some interesting links to other videos also that you'll definitely will enjoy and help expand your knowledge. The teaching at number 5 is that hell is big. Like, it's massive. The Hadith, it gives some more details about the description of hell. For example, it's perceived to be so deep that if a stone was to be thrown down into hell, it would fall for 70 years straight before it ever reached the bottom. Also, the span of each of hell's walls is equivalent to a distance that covers a walking journey of 40 years. So imagine walking for 40 years. I can't even imagine walking for 40 minutes. All right, so we talked about the size of hell and some other beliefs about it. There's also mentions of the forces of hell. And this teaching is that in hell, the people that are thrown into hell are going to be tormented by Zabania, and these are the forces of hell. Jahannam or hell is depicted as an abyss that has scorching winds, and also the Asirat bridge is going to be above. And by the way, that is the bridge that every single human being must cross on Judgment Day according to the Islamic belief. Also, the gates of hell are guarded by Malik and his subordinate angels. And then in the Quran, Surah 4 verses 168, you'll find a passage that says this: "Indeed, those who disbelieve and commit wrong or injustice, never will Allah forgive them, nor will He guide them to a path." Also, where is hell anyways? You got to know that there is no specific mention from the Quran or any of the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad that actually pinpoint a specific location of hell. And no one knows the exact place. Muslims believe that only God knows that. And due to some of the difference in translations and languages and just the different linguistic styles, when some scholars look at the Hadith, they believe that hell is in the heavens, but others believe that hell is actually in the lower parts of the earth. But either way, that is a topic still up for debate. There's not a 100% census in the Muslim community of where in fact hell actually is. Number 2 brings us the 7 gates. Now, like I talked about the 7 stages, there's also the 7 gates that are mentioned in the Quran. And that is found in Surah 15 verses 43 to 44, and it says, "And indeed, hell is a promised place for them all. It has 7 gates. For every gate is of them a portion designated." It's believed that each gate is going to have its own allotted share of those who will be punished in hell, and each will enter according to their deeds and assigned a level of hell accordingly. Also, when unbelievers are brought to hell, its gates will be wide open and they're going to pass through it and stay in there forever. Now, for the final teaching of hell according to the religion of Islam, we looked at various different schools of thoughts in Islam, so it's not just one specific teaching that we're looking at. But anyways, this teaching is that stones and stubborn unbelievers make the fuel of hell. In the Quran, Surah 66 verses 6, it says, "O you who have believed, protect yourself and your families from a fire whose fuel is the people and stones, over which are appointed angels, harsh and severe. They do not disobey Allah in what He commands them, but do what they are commanded." Now, there's another source of fuel for hell, which is going to be the pagan gods that were worshipped besides the one true God. And now there's another passage that says, "Indeed, you disbelievers and what you worship other than Allah are the firewood of hell. You will be coming to enter it. Had these false deities been actual gods, they would not have come to it, but all are eternal therein." That passage is taken from Surah 21 verses 98 to 99 in the Quran. happen. All right, let's jump into this one, starting at number 10. Here we have the teaching of Dajjal. Now, Dajjal is also known as the false messiah. Muslims believe that he will cause great destruction by his deceptive powers. And Dajjal also is known to be blind in one of his eyes, but certain Islamic traditions depict Dajjal as having just one eye. Now, it's taught that the biggest fitna, or the biggest testing period in the history of humanity, is gonna happen at the time of Dajjal. Number 9 brings us a teaching of Iblis. Iblis in Islam is the personal name for the devil. He's a very demonic creature, and he's set loose on humanity. He spreads evil and misery, everything bad pretty much. Islam teaches that Iblis's punishment is postponed until the day of judgment, and Iblis sometimes can appear in human form, and he does this to carry out certain tasks like recruiting new followers. Jinn possession is at number 8. Now, not all jinn are evil according to Islamic belief. However, the jinn who are evil, that's the type of jinn that would possess a human being. But oftentimes people who are possessed by jinns may not be in agony and pain and screaming and with cuts on their face and going crazy like in the movies. However, individuals, they may get really angry or feel like they're forced to do certain actions without even being able to stop themselves. So there's varying types of jinn possession, but this is one of those teachings in Islam that can get pretty scary for some people. Next up is the teaching of hell. Hell is the ultimate punishment for non-believers according to Islam. Hell is described as being extremely hot, like people are going to be boiling there, and there's going to be a lot of suffering, and it's going to continue for disbelievers as long as God sees fit. Now, it's said though that despite the intense pain that people are going to be experiencing in hell, the worst of all their torments is going to be realizing that they're separated from God. Moving on to the teaching at number 6, this involves Munkar and Nakir. Munkar and Nakir in Islamic belief are two angels who test the faith of those who passed away in their tomb. Munkar and Nakir, they ask a person when they pass away who their Lord is, as well as what is their religion, and also who is their prophet. Now, a believer will answer these questions according to the Islamic belief. Now, unbelievers, they cannot answer these questions, but there are people who are going to give an answer, but they answer in a different way, or some of them actually don't even really believe what they're answering. Those are going to be the ones that will continue to be punished while they're in their graves, and their punishment while they're in their graves is going to last up until Judgment Day, when they get their final punishment. And as a matter of fact, while we're on that topic, I do have a recommended episode. It's our video where we explore facts about hell according to the religion of Islam. Now, I go into a lot more detail about these teachings in that video, so definitely check it out. I'll link to it down below in the video description section. I'll also have it in the card section of this episode. You do not want to miss that one. Moving on to number 5, natural disasters. Natural disasters, according to Islam, are believed to be warnings for those who are sinners. Or in the Quran, you're going to find one passage that says this: "And verily, we will make them taste the near torment, the torment in the life of this world, disasters, calamities, etc., prior to the supreme torment in the hereafter, in order that they may repent and return." And you can find this, by the way, in Surah 32, verses 21 in the Quran. Next up at number 4, I want to talk about Gog and Magog. The people of Yajuj and Majuj, also known as Gog and Magog, are said to be very wild people. They're extremely vicious, and they like to destroy things like crops and trees and buildings, pretty much just everything in their path. They'll destroy people if they get in their way. According to Islamic teachings, there was a righteous man known as Dhul-Qarnayn, and he made a barrier which to this day has blocked the way for Yajuj and Majuj to come out until the day that they are gonna be released from this barrier. But the teaching that is kind of scary about this is that only God knows that day. It could happen anytime. The next Islamic teaching that we're looking at involves Kiramin Katibin. This, by the way, is an Arabic term that translates to honorable scribe in English. These are two angels called Rakid and Atid, and they sit on human shoulders pretty much. I don't know if it's literal or symbolic, but what they do is that they write down everything that a human does or says. Now, on the day of judgment, each person's book of deeds will be read, and in that book, every small and great thing is recorded in there. But one thing to note though is that all the actions before adolescence, they're not included. Now, over in the Quran, it says this: that day the people will depart separated into categories to be shown the results of their deeds. So whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it. That's taken from Surah 99 verses 6 to 8. The teaching at number 2 is the Daba. The Daba, similar to Christianity, is referred to also in the Bible as the beast. Now, the Daba, though, is generally thought of as a creature that will appear during the end times, and it's one of the major signs of the day of resurrection in Islam. Now, the role of the Daba will be to pretty much distinguish the believers from the non-believers. This beast will have the power to light up the faces of the believers, and he'll be stamping the faces of disbelievers. The beast also will be seen for the first time after the sun rises over in the west instead of the east. And the final scary teaching is the teaching of the smoke. When you look at the Quran, Surah 44 verses 10 to 12, you're going to find a passage that says this: then wait you for the day when the sky will bring forth a visible smoke, covering the people. This is a painful torment. Our Lord, remove from us the torment. Indeed, we are believers. It was also mentioned in the hadith that the Prophet Muhammad described the smoke as a peaceful wind causing all the believers to die. So in a way, they're being protected from the torments of the final hour. For the disbelievers though, this is going to feel like a huge punishment for them, because, you know, it will be a great punishment for them. At number 10, hidden. So jinn, sometimes spelled with a D at the beginning of the word, well, they're supernatural and scary creatures. They were made by God, just like humans, and there is an air of mystery surrounding the entire world of the jinn, who they are, what they do. And as a matter of fact, the literal meaning of the Arabic word jinn, it means hidden or concealed. So not just that they are hidden and can't be seen with the naked eye, but things about them like their abilities, how they live, where they are, etc., are still a mystery. Although there is some information about what life is like for a jinn, a lot of it is still mystery. They literally could be anywhere, doing anything. What was that? Was that a jinn? Okay, I just have to catch my breath there. Moving on to number 9. Jinn, they live for a long time. So we established that jinns, they live in the world and they're concealed from our eyes, and they live in a different dimension, if you want to call it that. And they also do follow a different timeline. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, according to my research, the jinn, unlike humans, they can live for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, perhaps even millions of years at this point. So like, this means that they would most likely be smarter than us, and, you know, they would have a lot of time to accumulate knowledge and life experiences. Like we as humans, for instance, would live, let's say, about 80 years or so, and we think we're smart. But imagine living thousands of years, having thousands of years of knowledge in your brain. Yeah, would definitely make the jinn a very scary opponent. I'll talk more about that later on in this video though, so keep on watching. But for number 8, there are 3 main types of jinn. They take many different shapes and forms, and they have other names and types. And one source, a hadith narrated by Ibn Masud, it said that there are 3 main types of jinn: those who fly, and those who appear in the form of dogs and snakes. And the third kind is one that flies. So they're full of surprises, right? And I think what makes this so scary is that, you know, we as humans, there's like one type, and we can't really fly without the help of technology, but there's no escaping a jinn. So if you even fly with an airplane, the jinn can fly and get you. If you try to avoid a jinn, well, there's nowhere that you can run and go, because they can take on the form of an animal, let's say, and you may just run into it and you don't even know that's a jinn. That is scary. Well, number 7 brings us the Kareen. So you guys know that our phones listen to us, right? Like you could be talking about buying a new car with a friend and all of a sudden, boom, you're on Facebook or Instagram and you see ads about cars and deals for new cars and all of that, and you're thinking like, oh wow, this is interesting. Also, our phones track our location. But still, in many ways, we can still protect our privacy from companies and the government and from other people. Just turn off the phone or, don't use one. But there's actually no privacy at all when it comes to a type of jinn called Kareen. These guys are on another level. Kareen is a type of evil jinn that stays with a human being all the time. They're literally like assigned to humans and they know each and everything that a person does. And as if that wasn't bad enough, they encourage you to do bad things. So not only are they literally spying on you, but they have the audacity to make your life worse by, trying to instigate you and doing bad stuff. Number 6 brings us jinns being powerful. So they're physically strong and capable of moving heavy objects almost instantaneously from one place to another. And in some cases, jinn powers, they can be controlled much like humans, and the person who is controlling the jinn's power, well, they can use them for various different beneficial reasons. Like one example is King Solomon, according to Islamic texts, who made the jinn build the Masjid al-Aqsa, also known as the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They can travel large distances quickly, and of course they can fly through the air like I mentioned earlier. But outside of being physically strong and able to have external influences on humans, jinns also have the power to penetrate a person's subconsciousness, and they can almost force humans to do things and feel experiences. This type of phenomenon is called jinn possession. Halfway in at number 5, jinn are very crafty. I touched on this at the beginning of the video, but jinns are creatures with great intelligence. They live forever, they're accumulating a lot of information and learning a lot. So they can lie, they can give false information, they can even play tricks on people. So good luck trying to outsmart a jinn. In many cases, it would be like a toddler competing with a 30-year-old scientist on a chemistry exam. There is no match when it comes to the humans and the jinn's intellect when you put them side by side. It takes a lot of spiritual strength and knowledge and patience to control a jinn, and how to control a jinn still remains a very tricky question because many people have actually tried to control jinns, but they were not successful, and in some cases they lost their mental health and even lost their lives in the process. So trying to control a jinn is definitely something that's not recommended. Number 4 brings us Ifrit. Ifrit, they are sometimes in different cultures worshipped as gods, but they are not a god. Ifrit is just one type of powerful and evil jinn. The Ifrit is recognized as the spirit of the dead people, and especially in European culture, Ifrit is mostly living underground, so they may marry each other and they have their own societies and everything. And what's also pretty scary is that they can marry humans as well. There are many popular tales that depict an enormous winged creature of smoke, whether in the male form or female form, but that's the typical depiction of an Ifrit jinn. While ordinary weapons and forces have no power over them, it's believed that they are actually susceptible to magic, which humans can use to kill them or even capture them. But again, yeah, this is an Ifrit we're talking about. The odds of capturing one and controlling one, very slim. Number 3, let's talk about mental health when it comes to jinn. Some Muslim people believe that jinn can be the cause of mental health problems, and also jinn can be the source of having people see visions and hearing voices, as well as other undesired influences. Researchers in the Netherlands have found that up to 80% of Islamic people with a diagnosis of psychosis considered to be the result of a jinn. Now, Western medical practitioners, they often lack information about Islamic culture and religious beliefs. So of course that can make Muslims reluctant to seek any sort of medical advice when it comes to matters like this. But there is some interesting research that suggests that in some Muslim communities, medication and talking therapy for distressing voices is most effective when combined with traditional Islamic methods used to eliminate jinn influence on somebody. The scary fact at number 2 is that jinn target kids. This one is taken from an Islamic source, specifically the Hadith Sunan Abi Dawud 3733. And it says, "Gather your children when darkness spreads, or in the evening, for the jinn are abroad, and seize them." So this can be viewed as a literal seizing or a spiritual seizing. Either way, keep your eye on the kids at nighttime because the jinn are out to get them. And we end this episode off at number 1, the jinn hold grudges. Jinn are not all evil. According to the 1001 Nights, in some of its tales, jinn actually grant wishes to people, and they also help people who are in need. But be careful though, not all jinn are so kind. In the tale of the merchant and the jinni, for example, a merchant is face to face with a powerful and evil jinn who wants to take his life because the merchant accidentally tossed a pit of a date and it hit and killed the jinn's invisible son. Well, invisible to the merchant, it was an accident, right? So although the merchant is able to remain alive, others may not have been so lucky. So be careful what you throw away. It just might harm a jinn unsuspectingly and leading to a very scary outcome.